There is something most people misunderstand about avoidant attachment. They think avoidants pull away because they do not care enough, because they are emotionally cold, or because they were never serious to begin with. But what I have seen over and over again is something very different. Avoidants do not pull away because they feel nothing. They pull away because they feel too much, and they do not know how to stay regulated when intimacy begins to deepen. When an avoidant starts to get close to someone, their nervous system does not interpret closeness as safety. It interprets it as risk. The body tightens. The mind begins scanning for exits. Small imperfections that once felt irrelevant suddenly become magnified. A delayed text becomes evidence. A minor incompatibility becomes a red flag. This is not random. It is a deactivation strategy. When the emotional intensity rises beyond what feels manageable, the psyche searches for distance. Many avoidants carry a quiet but powerful fear of losing themselves in love. Somewhere in their early relational experiences, closeness meant intrusion, unpredictability, or emotional instability. Boundaries may have been ignored. Emotional needs may have been dismissed. In some cases, love was inconsistent. In others, it was overwhelming. The conclusion the child makes is simple and protective. If I get too close, I will disappear. If I depend on someone, I will lose control. So the adult learns to associate autonomy with safety and intimacy with danger. One of the core beliefs driving this pattern is the fear of engulfment. If I commit, I will be trapped. A commitment feels like walking into a room with no visible door. Even if the partner is kind and secure, the avoidant system anticipates suffocation. This is why many avoidants keep one foot out of the relationship. They may hesitate to define the connection, avoid future planning, or insist on keeping things casual longer than necessary. It is not always about the partner. It is about maintaining a sense of escape. Another belief often operating beneath the surface is that their needs are not welcome. You may see an avoidant who appears independent and low maintenance, but internally there is often a history of unmet needs. They learned early that expressing desire, asking for reassurance, or requesting space either created conflict or was ignored, so they stop asking. Over time, they convince themselves they do not need much at all. And in reality, the needs are still there. They are simply buried under layers of self-reliance. There is also a deep mistrust in love itself. Many avoidants expect that the intensity of the early stage will fade and that what follows will inevitably collapse. When the honeymoon phase shifts into a calmer rhythm, they misinterpret stability as loss of chemistry. The absence of anxiety feels like boredom. Instead of recognizing this as the natural evolution of attachment, they assume something is wrong. This is the moment when they may begin to withdraw, question compatibility, or fantasize about someone more exciting. It is not that they stop loving. It is that their system does not yet recognize secure attachment as stimulating. Vulnerability presents another challenge. To open up fully, to let someone see fear, longing, or dependency, feels like stepping onto unstable ground. Vulnerability has been equated with weakness. If I reveal too much, I will be judged, rejected, or taken advantage of. So the avoidant keeps certain parts hidden. They may share stories, opinions, even dreams, but the raw emotional core remains guarded. The irony is that what they long for most is a connection deep enough to hold that vulnerability, yet the very act of revealing it feels intolerable. You might notice specific behaviors emerging from these beliefs. Nitpicking is common. Once intimacy grows, the mind starts cataloging flaws. The way you laugh, the way you text, the way you handle conflict. These details become evidence that the relationship is not quite right. Idealization also plays a role. And the avoidant may compare you to an imagined perfect partner or to someone emotionally unavailable from the past. The fantasy remains safe because it cannot demand real closeness. In contrast, a real partner standing in front of them represents risk. Ghosting or abrupt distancing can occur when emotional intensity spikes too quickly. Rather than having a difficult conversation, the avoidant may disappear. From the outside, this feels cruel and confusing. From the inside, it often feels like self-preservation. That does not excuse the behavior, but it helps explain it. When the nervous system is overwhelmed, withdrawal feels like relief. It is important to understand that avoidant and anxious patterns are not opposites in the way people think. They are two strategies born from insecurity. Underneath avoidance, there is often an abandonment wound as well. When an avoidant finally commits deeply, they can experience intense anxiety about losing the relationship. The same person who once feared being trapped may suddenly fear being left. These shifts can feel contradictory, but they are rooted in the same early instability. If you are loving someone with avoidant tendencies, one of the most essential tasks is to stop interpreting their distance as a verdict on your worth. Their withdrawal is about their capacity, not your value. However, compassion does not mean self-abandonment. There is a crucial distinction between understanding trauma responses and tolerating emotional irresponsibility. Healing requires participation. If someone repeatedly tells you they cannot meet your needs or do not want commitment, believe them. You cannot love someone into readiness. Secure attachment does not mean the absence of fear. It means the willingness to stay present when fear arises. For an avoidant, healing involves gradually increasing tolerance for intimacy. It means noticing the impulse to pull away and choosing, even briefly, to remain. It means expressing needs instead of suppressing them. It means recognizing that love is not a force that either exists or disappears on its own, but something cultivated through intentional effort. Stability is not the enemy of passion. In many cases, it is the foundation that allows passion to mature rather than burn out. For the partner of an avoidant, moving towards security can subtly shift the dynamic. When you stop chasing, when you communicate clearly without accusation, when you hold boundaries without hostility, you create a different emotional climate. Sometimes that safety allows the avoidant to soften. Sometimes it reveals that they are not ready. Both outcomes provide clarity. Avoidants do not pull away because they are incapable of love. They pull away because closeness activates old survival strategies. But survival strategies that protected them once can shrink their lives later. Real growth happens when the fear of losing oneself is replaced by the discovery that intimacy can expand, not erase, identity. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, the path forward is not self-criticism, it is curiosity. Notice when you begin to search for flaws. Notice when you fantasize about escape. Notice when calm feels uncomfortable. Each of these moments is an invitation to pause rather than run. With practice, the very closeness that once felt suffocating can become the space where you feel most alive. And if you are waiting for someone who continually retreats, remember this. Love that requires you to diminish yourself is not secure love. Healthy intimacy is built by two people willing to face discomfort together. Fear may arise, doubt may surface, but neither partner uses distance as their only tool. In mature attachment, both people learn to stay.